The 7 tips related to increasing your vocabulary. Now, before we move on, I would like to remind you to hit the subscribe button below if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet. And by the end of this video, if you like it, please share it with your friends and those who are interested in English. Hi there. You always want to make a conversation, you always want to speak, and you feel like there is something missing? You have a good level of grammar, however, you still have a problem while speaking. What is the average vocabulary needed for English learners to speak fluently? And what is the average number of vocabulary that English speakers or native speakers use? What is the importance of vocabulary for English learners? Why do English learners struggle with vocabulary? How can I solve my vocabulary problems? Whenever I need them in a conversation, I feel like I can't remember them. And the final question, how can I improve and increase the number of vocabulary for me as an English learner? Hi again, this is MD Channel for English. My name is Mazen, and today I'm going to answer all of these questions that I just mentioned earlier in this video. I'm going to also share with you some facts and numbers about vocabulary for English learners and native speakers. I will tell you about the difference between active and passive vocabulary. Finally, I'll give you 7 tips to improve and increase the number of vocabulary that you really need while speaking. Now first, let's begin with levels. Now those who know 250 words up to 500 words are considered beginners. Those who know 1,000 words up to 3,000 words in English can practice daily conversations, and they can consider themselves as an intermediate level. Now, knowing 4,000 words up to 10,000 words makes you an advanced level. Knowing more than 10,000 words will make you really fluent, and you will reach the native speaker levels. Typically speaking, native speakers know 15 to 20,000 word families in English. After knowing these numbers, I can determine my level, whether it's beginner, intermediate, or advanced, or even a semi-native speaker. Now let's move on and know about the types of vocabulary which I'm going to talk about today, which are the passive and active. Passive vocabulary refers to words that learners understand but are not yet able to use. This means that you can actually understand while you are reading a book, a novel, or a magazine what is written down, but the problem that you can't actually produce these vocabulary while speaking or writing. Active vocabulary, on the other hand, is the words that learners understand and use in speaking or writing. So active vocabulary can be used easily while speaking or writing because you can remember them easily. And this big difference between passive and active vocabulary is the amount of use. So how much time you used the vocabulary will determine how much you will remember it. So it's that simple. So the vocabulary you are using already on a daily basis, on everyday conversations, those are the vocabulary that you're going to remember them easily while speaking or writing. But those vocabulary you learned in the past, but you're not using them anymore, you don't practice, you don't keep them, keep them in the passive part of your brain. So all what we need for now is to learn the 7 tips to improve and increase the number of vocabulary, or change the passive vocabulary into active vocabulary. So let's start with tip number 1, read, read, read. Now, read a book, read a magazine, read novels, read newspapers, whatever you read. Whether it's a hard copy or a soft copy as PDF, it's not a big deal. The most important thing is to read. Now, why I repeated this 3 times? Because reading is the most important aspect in any learning process. So the more you read, the more you will get more vocabulary, and you will increase and improve the number of your vocabulary. So always find yourself a book that you will be always committed to. There are a lot of books such as self-improvement books, novels, if you are interested in novels and fantasy or fiction stories. Now there are short stories and long stories if you like to read magazines about celebrities or whatever. Now, just keep reading. Just keep reading and try to vary. Do not read only about scientific issues. Do not read only about celebrities. Read about different things. Tip number 2, use a dictionary. Whatever version you prefer, whether it's a hard copy, a software, or even an online one, it doesn't matter. What matters is how you keep it next to you. So whenever you have a new word, you look up this new word and find out about its meaning. Now, this is not only about the meaning itself, but also to know about the right pronunciation, how many syllables, where is the stress of the word, and to know which part of speech it is. Now, we can also know about the synonyms and antonyms. We can have more examples about the word. So this will tell me a lot about this word. Using a dictionary is really helpful, and as long as our goal is to increase the number of vocabulary, then this is the right step. And let me explain to you how. Let's take, for instance, the word cat. I know that it's simple and everyone knows about its meaning, but if we look it up in a dictionary, then we will find a lot of words, such as the word animal, such as fur, such as claws, such as tail, where I can't show you. Now, we can learn also about the word that it's domestic, which means that it lives at home. We can learn also about its type, that it's a mammal. So there are a lot of words we can learn at one time. So how many words we can learn out of one word? So we learned the word animal, we learned the word domestic, we learned the word fur, claws, tail, mammal. So all of these words, and we can learn also the word pet. So imagine how many words you can learn out of one word. Step number 3, use a notebook. Now try to use a notebook with this size so you can put it in your pocket and use it wherever you go. Now, as an English learner, we have to use this on a daily basis in order to write down all the new words that we learn. Whether we are watching a movie, we are listening to a song, we are reading a novel or a book, we can write down here all the new words that we learn after checking the meaning, of course, out of the dictionary. Now, why this would help me? Because if you do this, then you're gonna transfer the new vocabulary from your short-term memory into your long-term memory. And that is one of the goals that we use a notebook. So please use a notebook. Now, it could be sometimes as a hard copy, as the one that I'm having now, or you can use it on your mobile. But I prefer to use one as a hard copy so you can write and engage in writing, so you can learn also about the spelling of the words. Tip number 4, learn a word on a daily basis. Now, you might think that this is a very small number, and it is, but I'm saying at least learn a word every day. Now, as an English learner, you need to learn, of course, more vocabulary during the day, but I'm saying, again, at least one word on a daily basis. Now, why we do so? Because after 100 days, you will be learning like 100 words. After a year, you will be learning like 360 words, and the number will increase more and more. Because remember, when you learn one word, you're not gonna check only this word. You will have, like the rest of it, like what the type of word is this? Is it an adjective? Is it a noun? Is it a verb? Is it an adverb? And then you can use it properly while speaking or writing. So please keep this in mind and learn a word on a daily basis. Tip number 5, play video games or word games. Now, you might be shocked to hear this, like video games, word games. How we can do this? Now, there are a lot of websites that are in English, and you can play word games such as crosswords, puzzles, and so on. Now, remember that video games, like whether you are using your PlayStation or, like Xbox, whatever, just try to follow what's on the screen. Now, when you do this, you will have a challenge, and it will help you to experience and find out the meaning of these words in order to continue the game or in order to move on with the word puzzle. Now, this is really a funny way to learn. It's a very funny tool, to learn while having fun, and you could enjoy your time as well. But remember that the goal was to increase the number of your vocabulary. And it really happens without you even know. Tip number 6, check the word family. Yes, every word in English has a family, but not the same family as we have as a father and mother, brother and sister, wife and daughter. No, it's like a bit different. So what is a word family? Now, as you know, when you see a word, you need to check first what part of speech it is. So is it a noun? Is it a verb? Is it an adverb? Is it an adjective? What part of speech it is. And then you will check the other parts. So if you got a new word, which is an adjective, check what's the noun of it? What's the verb of it? What's the adverb of it? Now, by this, you will multiply the number of vocabulary you already have at least 4 times. So let's say, for example, you know 500 words, 500 vocabulary. Multiply by 4, by doing this or following this method, checking the word family, you will get at least 2,000 words, 2,000 vocabulary. Now let's say you know 1,000 words in English. Multiply at least by 4, you will get 4,000 words. Now let's take, for example, the word successful. Now the word successful is an adjective. Now I check, what is the noun? Success. What's the verb? Succeed. What is the adverb? Successfully. So I got only one word, successful, which is the adjective, and then I found the other words, the other part of speech. By this, I have increased at least 4 times the number of vocabulary that I already have. This is a great method, and I will give you more examples about this. As I promised, I'm going to give you more examples about that. Now I'm going to take 3 words. The first word is decide. Decide is a verb. Now what's the adjective? Decisive. What is the noun? Decision. What is the adverb? Decisively. Now let's take the word differ. Differ is a verb. Now what is the adjective? Different. What is the noun? Difference. What is the adverb? Differently. Let's take the word act. Act is a verb. What's the noun? Action. What's the adjective? Active. What's the adverb? It's actively. You see how I increase the number of vocabulary that I already have by knowing the other parts of speech. This is a great way. Please try it. Tip number 7, I will say try your best to engage yourself more in speaking and writing. Now, as you know, speaking and writing both are productive skills. So in order to use them, you need to use vocabulary. You need to use words to write or speak. So the more you write, the more you need vocabulary, and you will find where are those words you need and put them in writing or in speaking. So try to make conversations, try to videotape yourself, try to record yourself speaking. So while speaking, you will need some vocabulary, and you will find out that you don't know them. So you will check where are these words, you will find these words and try to use them whenever you speak or write. So engage yourself a lot in speaking and writing. Those are productive skills. Mainly they need more vocabulary in order to produce better speaking and better writing. Now that was the final tip for today. By the end of this video, I would like to summarize again what we have covered so far. So at the beginning, I talked about facts and numbers related to the vocabulary. So whether you are beginner, intermediate, advanced, or even a native speaker. Now the second thing we talked about is the passive active vocabulary. And the third thing we talked about is the 7 tips to improve and increase the number of your vocabulary. Again, let's go over the 7 tips to increase and improve the number of my vocabulary. Number 1, read, read, read. Number 2, keep a dictionary with you. Number 3, use a notebook. Number 4, learn a word on a daily basis. Number 5, play video games or word games. Number 6, check the word family. And number 7, engage yourself in more conversations and writing. So speak more and write more in order to use more vocabulary. Please try to use these 7 tips and you will increase the number of your vocabulary dramatically. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. and I hope that you really liked the video and found it really helpful.